Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm a professional writer, a published author, and a lifelong bookworm. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview plus my honest review of the book Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. There are no spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read the book yet, you're in a safe place. Now, Hello Beautiful follows the Padovano family, which is made up of 4 sisters who are thick as thieves. They are as close as any siblings could ever get, and their parents. Now, the eldest sister, Julia, meets a boy named William Waters. I believe they meet in high school, but they end up dating and eventually getting married. Now, William grew up in a very different family. He was an only child, and his parents were not present in his life. He received no attention, no affection. So when he kind of starts dating Julia and becomes a part of her family, it's a huge shift for him, but he's finally a part of a big family where there's a lot of love. The sisters accept him with open arms, and they kind of just bring him into the family, no questions asked. All right, so you've got the Padovanos, you've got William Waters. The book starts, I believe, in the early 80s, and then it spans a little over 25 years. And that's kind of what I want to get to next. The way this book is written and structured is, at least to me, it was very unique. Now, each chapter focuses on a different character and a specific time period. So one chapter might focus on Julia from March 1985 to April 1987. And then the next chapter will be William for that same time period or a slightly different time period. So you're moving through time, and in each chapter, you're getting different characters' perspectives of what's happening. And I'm going to come back to this in a minute. So now let's talk about what I loved about this book. Because it spans more than 25 years, you really get to know the characters, and they start to feel like your own friends. Like you actually want to be a part of the Padovano family because these sisters are so cool and so likable, and they love each other so much. Like I can't remember the last time I read a book where siblings loved each other so much. Most of the characters, I would say, are really, really likable. They're people you would want to be friends with in real life, even though some of them are very deeply flawed. And they have really good character arcs. So even though the author puts them through a lot, in the end, a lot of these characters get what you hoped they would get under the circumstances. The writing is absolutely beautiful. It's so moving and so memorable. And I laughed, I got choked up a couple of times. It just really hits you on a very deep level. And going back to the structure, the way the chapters are written and organized, when I first started reading this and I saw that's how it was written, honestly, I was a little worried because I thought it was going to start to get repetitive, but it's not at all. Even though some of the chapters are focusing on the same time period, because you are getting it from a different character's perspective, I really didn't have a hard time kind of like putting myself in their shoes and looking at the same event in a different way. Now, the dislikes, which there were very few, the beginning and the end were a little slow. The beginning, not so much. I just noticed that it was just a little slow. The ending did start to drag a little bit, even though I loved the book. By the end of it, I was like, all right, come on, let's go. And the whole book in general kind of has a slower pace. And what I realized is that even though this book is almost 400 pages, there's not a ton of dialogue, and I wouldn't call it action-packed. In fact, not a lot even happens. There are like 2 or 3 huge things that happen, which I will not share. But other than that, it's a slower book. Now, I don't think that has to be a bad thing, but just know if you want to read this, that it's a lot of like narration and kind of like inner dialogue. It's a lot of like, you know, the author talking about how the characters feel and what they're thinking and what they're wondering. So it is a slower book, but I can honestly say that aside from the very, very beginning and the very, very end, I did not get bored. I flew through this book. The other thing that I didn't love, there were 2 characters in particular, Julia, the eldest daughter, and then Rose, the mother in the Padovano family. And Rose in particular, I just had a really hard time liking her. Like I could find the good in her, and you know, the sign of a great author is when you can empathize with the character even if they're like super messed up or like a bad guy in the book. If you can empathize with a character, it really doesn't matter how awful they are. But I had a harder time with Julia and Rose because there were just so many things they said and sometimes their behavior, and I thought, oh my God, I wouldn't be able to be around Rose if she were real. And also it didn't help that their character arcs didn't really give me any satisfaction in the end. Maybe it was left open-ended so that you can kind of like come to your own conclusions about where these characters ended up. But I was really hoping for Rose in particular to kind of redeem herself in the end, because some of the stuff she says in the book is just like, oh my God. And because that character arc didn't have that in the end, I wish it did. But I want to stress that the good in this book definitely far outweighed the bad. And in terms of like the characters that I didn't really love, that's of course personal preference. I'm sure a lot of readers would completely disagree with me, and that's okay. I can definitely recommend this book. On Goodreads, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't give out too many 5-star reviews. I don't know why, I just don't. But this was really, really good. Definitely recommend it. It's absolutely worth the read. I know it's a thick boy, but I loved it. After finishing this book, I immediately picked up the Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and I'm in the middle of reading that. It's very good so far, so I will have the review up for that soon. And yeah, if you read this book or you thought about reading it, drop me a comment and say hello, let me know what you think. And if you have any recommendations for what I should read next, same thing, drop a comment and let me know. I'd love to connect with you. Okay, that's all for today. Bye!